Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello and a warm welcome. We are just 2 minutes late. You have to pardon us. And we have again none other than Pritam Sinha, a lucrative software job to something humane. He is just trying to get hold of the human activity which he feels this is the only way we can protect ourselves, this universe. So that is why he has switched from a lucrative software job. Why? The last episode with Mr. Pritam Sinha, he has very clearly exposed what has happened from Wuhan last 2 years. Was it really a medical issue or something which concerns radiation and pollution? With evidences, he proved it was. I would let it be hear from him only. And now this issue, in relation to the same, if it was not health issue, what did they do with our health? Whether it is state government, union government, or the world alike, how they played with the health of all citizens without duly making citizen to understand what is this pandemic all about. It is the fundamental right of every citizen, right to life and right to health. But here we find a peculiar situation wherein the citizen concerned, his health, he is not aware, he is just being imposed under the name of Archaic Epidemic Act or National Disaster Management Act in India, likewise in all the other countries. And the biggest culprit of all this is the World Health Organization at the helm, now again trying to dictate the world when they are caught in the form of various vaccine trials, vaccine deaths, and when the pandemic itself is in question, isolating virus, no one talks. Where is the post-mortem or autopsy report? Even we have been requesting, demanding Supreme Court. How did you come to a conclusion that these deaths are because of Corona or COVID-19? You are paying my money, 50,000 money for every unfortunate death. Instead of insurance companies which should have paid, shell down 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, pharmacies should have come to the rescue of such patients because everyone is insured in the world now. Whether it is by the government or by the private, that is a big conspiracy. Now let me listen to Mr. Pritam Sinha. Welcome, sir, once again, in spite of your hectic schedules.
So we discussed in the last session that what exactly happened in Wuhan. And when we look at the angle of science, we do not only look at the bacteria and virus and that kind of stuff. Look at all the possible factor and we do a proper due diligence to look at what could be the root cause. And RCA is very important thing to look at if any incident has happened and why it has happened. Unfortunately, all that was not coming out, in spite of the fact that scientists in China, they published a paper in the medical journal and they said very clearly, which we talked about in the last session, that in spite of officially being announced that it is because of SARS-CoV-2, that is severe acute respiratory syndrome, but the scientific methods doesn't exhibit the same. They talked about that the statistical correlation and causal relationship is not established. And they also said that the percentage of people with a viral load out of the first set of 45 people who got affected were less than 20%. So that is where the thought process got triggered. Being a researcher by passion, I started going deeper into it to understand what's happening in China. What came out very clearly is that China flattened the curve in February 2020. Now the question was that China has flattened the curve, that is basically Wuhan. What did they do? How did they flatten the curve? What was the root cause of the issue? And that is where I came across that the medical journal in China said that we applied TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, they applied Tibetan medicine, they applied the yin and yang, which is similar to yoga. Then they did a dietary intervention, and by in February 2020, they said that we are terminating remdesivir and favipiravir clinical trial because nobody is there in any of the fever clinic or hospital or any COVID hospital, whatever. So that's what they said. But the question was that why did WHO did not look at how China flattened the curve? if the efficacy of the TCM, that is traditional Chinese medicine, which is similar to Ayurveda, and yin and yang, which is similar to yoga, why is that WHO did not go to public and say that this is a protocol which has been used by Wuhan, and with that they have flattened the curve and they are back to business. They are selling masks, they are selling ventilators, they are selling drugs and all that. They did not look at the evidence, the scientific evidence, which was coming out very clearly how they flatten the curve. Now that triggered my thought process, and I started looking for what is happening in India. Unfortunately, India, as soon as this was announced, India banned Ayush. Right, the circular were issued that any of the Ayush facility will be closed, and if anybody is what you call offering any kind of treatment based on Ayurveda, Yoga, Siddha, Unani, Tibetan, they will be sent behind the bar, and circular were issued. The FIR will be launched against them. So that was something which is very shocking, that India is a birthplace of Ayurveda. Why the stepmotherly treatment has been given to Ayurveda? And what came out very clearly on the medical journals, that they use turmeric, ginger, garlic, cinnamon powder, and all of that was very powerful to resolve the viral load on people. It is a different thing whether it was because of SARS-CoV-2, which was not proved as per the medical evidence collected by scientists in China. At the same time, WHO had also published one banner on Twitter and all of that, that there's no evidence of human to human transmission. Uh, I have shared you that article or the banner, that this is no evidence of human to human transmission. That is what came out scientifically. However, in spite of that, many things started happening across the globe. The WHO, Government of India, then many other health-related organizations, National Health Mission, they said there's no evidence of uh, mask is effective for any kind of microorganism. And they said that it can do more harm than good. So that is something which was also being communicated. It was published in Government of Karnataka. It was published by Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, National Health Mission. Even few of the scientists in India, they also talked about there's no evidence that mask can protect. However, this was imposed. So this is what I was referring to, that preliminary investigation conducted by the Chinese authority have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus. If this is something which came out from science perspective, what changed? Why did they change the view, right? Because view from science is not something which keep on changing on daily basis, right? The view of science is written, documented here. And similar thing was documented about mask. It was documented about social distancing, because if this human to human transmission evidence itself is not there, what was the basis of lockdown? What was the basis of maintaining a distance of 2 gauge and whatever, right? So that is something which started triggering my thought process. And that is where I started looking for, is there any evidence that mask can really protect? Is there any randomized clinical trial which has been done? I found none. However, people have raised concern that mask can do more harm than a good. It can cause many issues related to reduction in CO2 level, because you are reducing the inhalation of oxygen, you are re-inhaling the carbon dioxide. So that is also was coming out. And that is where I started looking for that what is the story or history of coronavirus, right? Because one thing is was also coming out that people who were picked up from home and pushed to the hospital for treatment, majority of them, maybe 99.99% people, did not have any kind of health issues. They labeled it as a asymptomatic, and asymptomatic and symptomatic, when we look at the classical definition or scientific definition, it was very clear that definition of symptomatic starts with the disease symptoms. If the disease is absent, then symptomatic, asymptomatic doesn't make any sense, because there's no disease. So many people who were picked up from home and they were tested forcibly, they were sent to quarantine zone, and the entire area was being what you call locked down in different location. So that was happening, and then started looking for that what is the evidence about coronavirus, what is the history, and I found that for the first time this was named as a coronavirus in 1930, wherein they said that this virus is there in animals, dogs, and horses, and cats, and cows, and all of that. And they created a multiple classification. Now, nobody could conclude that point of time that what is the origin of this particular virus, whether it is because of some biowarfare, or it is a virus something which is created in lab, or it is something which is coming from the wet market in Wuhan. So all these storylines were emerging. That was another reason I started getting into that. What is the history of this? How long it has been there with us for in all of us? And I found that at least for 120 years, since 1930, it is already there in all of us, right? And that is where the question was that if it is already there and this particular virus mutates, then why is that we are saying it is a novel coronavirus? Because even the back to human transmission was also concluded in 1960 itself. So there was a very clear evidence that micro-human transmission happened, and they named it as a human coronavirus. They put a tag also OC43 and HK221. That was human coronavirus was identified. So if it is already transmitted from bat to human, if it is there in us, then there might be the numerous variants which are already existing in our us. So I reached out to people who are scientists, who are chief scientists and principal scientists across the country, the people I knew personally. And they said, yes, there is no evidence to prove that what we are testing today did not exist before 2019 or before 2018, or whether it is there from the time immemorial. But it is there evidence that this particular microorganism is all of us. If it is in all of us, there might be a numerous variants which has been mutating, and if we have a record of all of that, then we can say that yes, it is novel coronavirus. But there is no evidence of that to support that it has just come to Wuhan and it just emerged. There was nothing like that. At the same time, we started looking for the evidence of that if somebody is tested positive, what is the percentage of people who are really showing symptoms? That again, it was really shocking. And what came out is that the percentage of people who are affected across the globe is maybe 0.01 or lesser than that, right? So if something is so serious, some things which can really impact, then it should have impacted everybody. Anybody or everybody who is tested positive, it should have done impact. And what I found is primarily the people who are positive and got impacted based on viral data, the people who got affected and faced the severe issues, those are the people who were already affected with the comorbidities and other health issues. So those people, unfortunate people who died, and their number also I looked at it. I found that those people are with diabetes, hypertension, cancer, cardiovascular issues, and respiratory issues, and all that. So that is something which came out, and at the same time, CM of Delhi announced that not a single death is happening in the home quarantine. So he raised the question that it's time to investigate what is happening in the hospital, wherein people who stay home quarantine, not a single death is happening, and people are dying in hospital. So that triggered my thought process to look at the what is the treatment protocol which is being done in the hospital. And what I found is there is amendment in the Clinical Trial Act wherein the amendment said that any kind of medicine without any scientific evidence, without clinical trial, without participatory trial, without any known efficacy, can be imposed for a treatment under emergency protocol. So Emergency Act was already imposed, and WHO announced a solidarity trial and picked up many medicine which were terminated, suspended, withdrawn in the past during different epidemic in different countries. For example, remdesivir or favipiravir or doxy and many such medicines which were being imposed on people as a part of the clinical protocol, and those were terminated products. And there was no efficacy even for coronavirus. Also, I found that number of deaths with remdesivir was higher than the regular death without giving that remdesivir. And there also there was a clear evidence that by stopping the administration of remdesivir, the number of deaths got reduced. So here WHO got opportunity to play a role of marketing agency for the pharmaceutical industry, and products which were just around 150 rupees or 200 rupees were even sold at even 2 lakhs rupees in the black market. And that is also coming, that came out very clearly. So I started exploring option to start communicating to the people who are authority that this is what China did, this is how they flattened the curve. I wrote an email to chief scientist of WHO as well, to Samir Swaminathan, CC to the Ministry of Ayush and many other people who were authority that point of time, that if China has done something, why we are differentiating or playing a different role, what do you call it, discriminatory role for our own Ayurveda and naturopathy and yoga and all of that. And that was a question which was coming, that if we can improve the vital energy irrespective of virus is there or not, it will protect people. So no response came, and that is where my analysis continued. And I found that there are hundreds and thousands of variants which are already there. And there's no evidence that this particular microorganism can be concluded novel in absence of genetic data which doesn't support that it is novel. So if you want to say that it is novel and did not exist, there has to be a data to support that. That is where I see that it's the death of science, right? And science is missing there. Whatever decision being done, whether it is the announcement of lockdown, whether it is imposition of mask or imposition of social distance, none of those measures are supported with a statistical correlation on the causal relationship, which is the fundamental core of a science. If you look at Indian science, our rishis and munis and all that, they should do observation and they should also get into the debate and discussion. And here another thing which came out very clearly is that debate and discussion was formally banned. So if you question anything which is not the pharma narrative, which is not a WHO narrative, then you are blocked. So if I share my point of view, because Indian system always encouraged, we need to have a start wherein a different school of thought were welcomed and people used to come and debate and discuss and then take a decision. But here what happened is that everything else which is not a narrative by WHO or WHO announcement were blocked on Facebook, blocked on Twitter. The posts were getting deleted. People were being banned for the social media for 1 week to 1 month. All that was happening. That triggered my thought process that it's all happening. There might be some planning which has been done. And they started investigating on that. Also, I came across a series of mock drill known as Event 201. And then I found that anything and everything, the communication by media, the way Facebook, social media is working, the way people are functioning, the way government is functioning, is all well planned. So even 201 has around 6 to 7 sessions. And there they did a mock drill that when we launch coronavirus, this is how people are going to react, and how we can hire some fact-checking agency, in the name of fact-checking agency, who will say that anything which is not part of pharma narrative is false. And that was happening. So there was no encouragement for any debate or discussion or alternative point of view. And that was also really shocking. So I went deeper into it, that now that it is happening, what could be the situation going forward, how we can protect people, because it came out very clearly that 99.99% people, in spite of getting tested positive, it was not showing symptom and they were labeled as asymptomatic, and they were being treated with a medicine or ventilator and all, and maybe many people might have died because of this experimentation. So it was nothing but a large scale human experimentation without a scientific evidence, without a clinical trial, without a peer review. Even when they announced we are going for a vaccination, till now I have not come across the research paper or patent, the product which were selected, whether it has gone through any kind of scientific process. Right? It was announced that we are initiating a clinical trial, but before initiating a clinical trial, there has to be a long-term scientific evidence whether this particular product or a vaccine can really help. Today, if you look at current situation, after 1.5, 2 years, Government of India has announced that this vaccine doesn't stop infection, doesn't stop spread. It is directly against even the parameter which were defined under the clinical trial. If the clinical trial itself has failed, Now, what is the point of getting into additional booster after booster after booster? And the same thing was raised maybe around 70, 80 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago by Gandhiji himself. He had said that the people who got a smallpox vaccine, it is coming out very clearly that they are getting infected again, right? And there's no evidence that the smallpox can save, one vaccine can save from getting affected from the smallpox. So he wrote a lot in different journals at point of time, Harijan and all of that. And there's no difference between what Gandhiji said that point of time regarding smallpox vaccine. And he said that people, it is impacting health of the people. It is one of the barbarous crime. It is the one of the superstition in the country, right? And he wrote the same thing what came out by government of India finally, that if you give a vaccine to people, it doesn't stop a spread. It doesn't provide any kind of guarantee that a vaccinated person will not affect another vaccinated person. It also said that fully vaccinated person, even after 2 doses, can get infected and transmit the virus to others. So now, if you look at the core of vaccine, which is supposed to protect the people who are vaccinated, protect the people who are surrounded by the person who is vaccinated. But both has failed miserably. Now the question came out is what happened in India in 2021, March 2021. That is the time we could see the real impact of what they were talking about pandemic. Because before that, we did not see that people are getting really severely affected. It was not something in the large news. But April 2020, we found that many people who are known to us personally, they are running to the hospital. They are searching for a bed. All the hospitals are fully booked. They are facing severe respiratory issues. So that is again started looking for what happened in India at that point of time. And I found that the radiation in India was increased up to 2.5 gigahertz. There was a massive auction which happened in March 2021. Implementation happened in April 2021, and that is where people started facing impact. And people with comorbid condition or people with health issues, they started facing the impact of potentially radiation, because it is really difficult to understand that the so-called virus which did nothing for almost 1 year, from March 2020 to March 2021, suddenly it became so violent and started impacting people at a large scale. So there might be additional factor. And being a researcher by passion, I started looking for what could be the additional region. I found that additional region is same as what happened in Wuhan. Only difference is that Wuhan, they had deployed 60 gigahertz, wherein the radiation gets absorbed in oxygen, and in India, the radiation gets absorbed in water molecule, because the maximum frequency which were deployed was microwave own frequency up to 2.5 gigahertz. Power density were increased. I spoke to people who were the tower operator. I checked with them, then increase in frequency or the generator or UPS and all. It was confirmed that yes, it was multiplied many times. At the same time, another thing happened in India was earlier, the DOT regulation said that two operators should be kept at least half kilometer, 1 kilometer apart to make sure that the power density doesn't get multiplied. But here, additional consolidation happened by the tower company. The remember correctly, is tower company's name is Indus Tower, and they started deploying multiple operator in the single entity. So that might also have an impact, because the power density frequency as itself doesn't impact much. But when you have a multiple operator into a single antenna, the power density gets multiplies, and the primary impact on human being or the birds or the plant or anything, that increases the temperature. It increases the skin temperature, what we call it as a fever. And once the temperature increases, we know that we face many other issues like loss of taste, loss of smell, all that definitely happens. And that is where I started working further on that it is happening anyway, whether it is because of new variant which is being projected, or it is something because of radiation. Now we need to look at what is the actual health issue and what is it can do to protect people. So one of the major impact was because of oximeter stuff. Many people who started buying oximeter and they started testing themselves and they found that their oxygen saturation is low. It was communicated that as soon as your oxygen saturation is going below 90 or 92, rush to the hospital. And that is where, even if they do not have a real health impact, people started rushing to hospital. It created a large scale psychological impact also on people. And we know that if you know that this low oxygen saturation value may impact breathing issues, it may also create a psychological impact on people wherein they feel like that breathing is an issue. And that is where all the hospitals were booked. Many people were struggling. A lot of connection happened to buy oxygen saturation, oxygen concentrator, distribute to people, and all of that happened. And that is where I started looking for that what is the condition, this condition called, and what is that we can do to help people even if they are not getting oxygen concentrator. And I zeroed down on Nada Anusandhana, which is a yogic technique. And I spoke to the few of the allopathic doctors also that today anything and everything is being labeled as a COVID. When it started, the name was SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and later the name was changed to COVID. And COVID as a name included any kind of issues, right? Whether it is breathing issue, whether it is cough and cold issue, loss of skill, loss of taste, fever, anything, everything become the brand for COVID. And I asked them that what is this condition called wherein people are facing these issues. And they said that it is a condition called bronchial asthma, wherein the oxygen is getting trapped in the lungs. So it is not an inhalation issue, it is an exhalation issue. So I started looking for that, what is that we can do. So primary thing which came out, which would be very fast is Kapalbhati, which can quickly help to exhale the trapped gas from the lungs. But I found that many people who are facing, they already have a respiratory condition, and Kapalbhati may not work well, right? It might have some kind of contraindication. They started exploring the what could be the easier way to help people. And then I zeroed down on Nada Nusandha, which includes Akara, Ukara, and Pakara chanting, where we do ah, ooh, mm. So it is going to help releasing the gaseous element without impacting the lungs function. And I found that people who are with even 65, 60, 65 oxygen saturation, within 7 to 10 minutes, the oxygen saturation went up to 95. So this is one. Second thing, to reduce the impact of radiation, I zeroed down that the primary impact is dehydration. So there could be possibility that if we can provide them a raw diet and increase the water consumption, it can also improve hydration. So this is what we found, and I share with people who are a decision maker at the country level, at the national or international level. I shared with them that this is what can be done. There's a need to provide a protocol based on Panchkosha, which will touch upon the Annamaya Kosha or Pranmaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha, Anandmaya Kosha, and finally the Vijnanmaya Kosha and Anandmaya Kosha. So this is what we did and designed a protocol as well. And what I found is that in India, whether it's implementation of remdesivir or favipiravir, one of the important aspects which comes from the science, which has to be imposed to the pharma industry, is the informed consent, right? That when we administer any kind of medicine which doesn't have efficacy, there has to be informed consent that you are being part of experimentation wherein we do not know what could be impact on the health. But informed consent as a process was completely missing. And then later also, when even the vaccination is started, many top medical journals by then came forward and started questioning it, that the phase 1 is not completed, phase 2 is not completed, phase 3 is not completed, and all the vaccinations are getting emergency approval. And there is no data, there is no peer review, no science. The definition of science from the pharmaceutical perspective was supposed to get the peer review done. What was happening is the pharma is releasing the what you call shortlisted content, which was not as per the science. BMJ wrote many articles. Peter Doshi is one of the executive editor. started questioning the efficacy of RT-PCR. He said that there could be 50% false positive, 50% false negative. Is it really the right method for testing to give a conclusive result? At the same time, he talked about why the data is not coming. Right, the vaccine, there's no background, how all this thing has come. It is happening for the first time, right? The mRNA vaccine or many other stuff which were primarily planned to be used for gene therapy, which did not have ethical clearances, all were being used. And then India, we found that the system to capture the effect after vaccine is not there. Even if it is there, it is so difficult for people to go and report. So in the hospital, they could provide observation period of around 15-20 minutes. But after that, there was no system to go back and check with people what is happening with them, whether are they facing any health impact, are they facing any kind of other disorder. So that system to classify the different impact after vaccination was missing. The COVID portal did not, the COVID portal which was used for registration for vaccine, did not provide any system for people who were registered vaccine to go back and share that this is what happened to us or to our family members. If people died, there was no proper postmortem which was being done to conclude that whether it is related to vaccine. I found that Pakistan Army has put a circular that anybody and everybody who has got first dose, they'll have to take a aspirin as a medicine, which is a blood thinner. Then that is where I started looking deeper into it and found that many articles has been published about the potential blood clots after the vaccination. But they said it is rare. The question which comes to me is that how do you define reality in a situation wherein the system to capture reality is missing? Do we have a system to go back to anybody and everybody? Have we done even single campaign at the national level about AE5, the importance of AE5 reporting, or creating awareness to masses that if you are facing any impact after vaccination, which is under experimentation, report it. So that was also shocking, whether it is state level or at the national level. I did not find any ringtone that if you are facing any problem after vaccination, go and report, call this number or report to this website, right? Till now, I have not found a website which can provide an option to report. Even the A5 portal of Government of Karnataka, I looked at it and I found that the last data update was only till early 2019. After that, I did not find any data. And at the same time, I came across some young girls who died within few days of vaccine. That was shocking. 18 years, 20 years, 22 years in Telangana, in Tamil Nadu, in Coimbatore. I spoke to the parents, and when you listen to them, you cannot stop tears from your eyes, right? And they trusted. They trusted the government narrative. They trusted pharma narrative. They trusted WHO. They felt that vaccine is going to protect their children. And there was first set of people who were part of experimentation. And when they started facing issues, there was no proactive support, right? The doctors did not look at that this could be the impact of vaccine. They did not report at the national level that this is happening. There was a possibility to safeguard them. There was a possibility to look at what did China do. There was a possibility to give them a blood thinner. But none of those things happened. And I also found that it was a major struggle for them to report, to get the AFI number. So I spoke to the parents of Ritaika and Karunya, and I came across the struggle what they have gone through. And they said that we have lost our daughter, the only mission we have in our life to question, right? The question and create more awareness so that we can stop more number of deaths as a victim of vaccination. But the story continued that this kind of things are rare. My quest continued. that it is rare, where is the system to prove reality? Where is the system to go and proactively capture each and every incident? Why is that the system what we have in UK is not implemented in India? UK adverse reaction portal said that there are 3,000 different kind of adverse reaction which are there, not just blood clot. There are multiple different disorder people have faced. They face anemia, they face brain disorder, neural disorder, the many kind health condition. All of that has happened, and India only talked about whether that has happened or not happened. Other parameters were not even considered. Even if death has happened, I found that it was being concluded that it could be because of some other region, right? And it could be rare. So that was another shocking thing why it is happening like this. Because people trusted Prime Minister that he's doing something for the good for the country. When it is being done for the good for the country, there has to be a proactive step to start looking for impact and stop the further doses of administration. But that did not happen. Right today, you are able to see picture of 5 people. Now I know at least 10 people who lost their life after vaccination. Dr. K.K. Agarwal started raising this before he died. And in spite of farmer supporter, he asked the question that how come the person who was healthy, who worked so actively, who was a DSP or DCP in Mumbai, died after vaccination with a cardiac arrest. So he raised this question that is it because of blood clot? Is it because of D-dimer which is high? And that is where government of India should have started proactively measuring the D-dimer, like they were testing RT-PCR. They should have created a testing protocol and they should have tested anybody and everybody what is the health impact on people. So I looked at the UK data and I found that the data says that after third dose, right, the number of deaths with a senior citizen is very, very high. It is going even up to 75%. And after release of this data, WHO would say nothing. And UK decided we are going to stop all this imposition of vaccine or measurement of RT-PCR and all of that. That's what they did. At least they realized that something is wrong. After the data which came out very clearly in their adverse reporting system, that senior citizens who had taken 3 doses of vaccine, if you look at the total there, 75% of people who died, they were given 3 doses of vaccine. So that is where I feel that whatever is happening is for last 2 years, there's nothing to do with science. I can say that with science, it's a death of science because when we look at science, we do not go with one narrative which is coming from WHO as a marketing agency of pharmaceutical industry. We need to analyze. We need to listen to people. At the same time, in December 2021, when the decision was supposed to be taken whether this vaccine should be extended further, many top scientists who were also part of NITAG, they started raising concern that we should not affect children. The people who are adults, they are already affected, that's fine. The impact is not very high. Impact is not very high, but again, if we do it for children, the impact would be very, very high. And that is where it came out that in spite of the top scientist who is also principal investigator for Covaxin, he's insisting that we should not do vaccination for children, but the decision was taken. The question is that why is that all the decisions which is not as per the science or scientists in being imposed on people, right? Why is that the Nitagi said that there's no evidence to support that children are at risk and we should not vaccinate children, but finally within a couple of days it was announced that children will get vaccinated, right? So that is what is happening today. So this is my view. Again, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but as a researcher with passion, it is a responsibility to provide a different perspective. That is what I have shared here. And there's need for a committee to look at all of this, whether it is evidence, whether the virus itself is really novel or not, whether till now, till after 2 years, is there any evidence to support or back the lockdown which was imposed on people in the country, whether there's evidence of human-to-human transmission. Did WHO provide any formal evidence? All these questions are still unanswered, and none of the action which were taken was as per science. So this is my summation. Over to your questions.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. You have really summed it up. Now, let me ask you one straight thing. Because of the two shows, now what do you think? Is it because of virus or because of radiation?
See, as a scientist, I said that I looked at everything, and virus till now, because if the person is 99.9% people are positive and doesn't impact, and maybe 0.001% people are affected, then look at from the science angle of science, right? When we plot a p-value and put a curve, what is the conclusion statement with this kind of data? Data will definitely say that there is no evidence or nil or negligible evidence support that particular microorganism can really cause a severe acute respiratory syndrome. So this is not my individual view. This is the view of science as per scientists' research process. This is how we do. So the outcome of scientific research with the data, with total number of deaths, even if we agree that it might be because of coronavirus, that is around 5 lakhs till now, out of 1.4 billion population, when you compare the number, there also evidence will say that there's no evidence to announce as a pandemic.
It's a big statement coming from you. There is no evidence to say that it is a pandemic.
Based on data.
Yeah.
It's not me as an individual, as a researcher with passion, this is what data says.
This is what data says. So, cumulatively,
So
then
you look at this cognitive dissonance, right, wherein people are determined, right? People who are decision maker or authority, they don't want to listen to anything else, right? And they decided we want to do this. Even when they announced pandemic, to announce pandemic, there has to be evidence whether we looked at the historical data for last 3 months. So suppose the impact started in Wuhan in December 2019. We announced in March end or something like that. Was there any evidence to support in last 3 months wherein there was no lockdown, the movement was free, Wuhan is most connected city in the world, whether there was evidence to say that this many people got affected, and that was the basis of announcement of pandemic, or it was just because of theory that it is going to happen. There were a lot of illusion and hypothetical assumptions were shared by WHO that this many people will die, this many millions will die. Was there evidence to support? And that was in a situation wherein China or Wuhan had already announced that we have flattened the curve. The city of Wuhan were making masks and drugs and RT-PCR kit, all the fake products for which China was known for. It came to India also. ICMR announced that the product based on which we have done all kind of testing was a fake product. Did they nullify the number? Did they look at the science, the product itself, which was fake, which was imposed in India, that is RT-PCR test, which was formally announced by ICPR, it is a fake product, it's a faulty product. Did they nullify the number? No. So there's nothing to do with science, right? So whatever has been done, there's no evidence to support as per the basic scientific research methodologies or the process that is nothing but a statistical correlation and the causal relationship.
statistical correlation and the causal relationship, you say. But why is that still the governments, whether it is Indian state government, India state governments in India, or the union government, fail to understand this?
I think they have understood. Today, look at the lockdown is gone. The mask also, Maharashtra government has decided it is not important. Vaccination imposition is also not important. The flight, domestic flight doesn't impose RT-PCR, right? But it took time. So if you look at science, then this thing should have continued. But they've realized all of that. They stopped the forced testing. ICMR released a notification that until it is symptomatic, there's no need for testing. But they should have thoughtful in that point of time. The question is who imposed all of this, right? Not only in India, across the globe, without any scientific evidence. Till now, there's no evidence to prove that a mask can protect from any microorganism. People say the size of the hole in the mask and size of the at least microorganism is much smaller. It can cross the mask also. So that is also there.
The other aspect, what about the role of Indian Council of Medical Research, Director Controller, Drug Controller, Government of India, giving emergency use authorization? Why?
That's a question. That is also not as per the sense. I looked at the clinical trial portal, vaccine or Covishield. I did not find evidence that the vaccination were peer reviewed. So one of the important aspects before you initiate a clinical trial, the peer reviewed report has to come. That itself was missing. Before you complete phase 1, you started phase 2. Before you complete phase 2, you started phase 3. Where is the science? Where is the data? Right? Something being imposed, and today we know that clinical trial itself has failed. And that is what I shared, that banner from of India, which says that fully vaccinated can also spread and can get infected. So they're realizing now, but it's high time they should do at least one apology to the country, to the people who lost lives, right? That we did experimentation based on the WHO guidelines. They should look at how to ban WHO to enter into India again, right? So that they cannot do the similar thing which happened. In fact, Sri Ravi Shankar, at the onset of this entire thing, he said that काफी दुख की बात है कि वो WHO जिसको हमने भगा दिया था उसको वापस देखना पड़ेगा. He said that ये बहुत बड़ा स्कैम है, इसकी सत्यता आगे जाकर के सामने आएगी, right? So he said that अभी पूरे देश को वैक्सीन लगाने के लिए पड़े हुए हैं, ये कभी हो ही नहीं सकता है, ये बहुत बड़ा धोखा है, right? So he made those statements, and finally what I found that his video got deleted. We know what happened with Baba Ramdev. One side we see that the Prime Minister or President of every country, they're launching any kind of pharmaceutical product, but they harassed Baba Ramdev only because the Health Minister was launching Coronil, right? So that also came out very clearly that they picked up Coronil, but they did not look at how the government is endorsing a product which is a vaccination product. Right, today you go to airport, you see that the advertisements are happening for vaccination. Right, the LEDs screen and all will have all kind of vaccination by Pfizer and all of that which are being promoted. Right, so that is again I see that there's nothing to do with science. It's all about some driving factor who decided, did a mock drill in 2019. If you look at this event 201, which was done in October-November 2019. It was for coronavirus, right? When you look at those video of the mock drills and what was being communicated all across the globe, it's exactly the same narrative, same statement, same communication. Number are increasing, people are going to bed, going to hospitals, bed is not available, almost the same thing. But it was all well planned.
So it was all well planned. But at the same time, for vaccination, even educated people, even till today, why didn't these people question what is there in the vaccine and why should I take, and mask why should I wear? Educated people here, where do you think the citizens have failed? कहाँ आप सोचते हैं कि हमारे नागरिक इतनी ये वैक्सीन ये टीका में क्या है और मैं क्यों लूँ? और वो भी जब क्वारंटीन कर रहे हैं आप 99.9% आप भी बोलते हैं कि रिकवर हो जाते विदाउट एनी ट्रीटमेंट, और इनिशियल फेज यही था, केरला हो हर जगह, फिर all of a sudden ये वैक्सीन क्यों आया? What do you think? Why did this vaccine come when there is a there is a recovery of 99.9% without any treatment?
So business potential with a vaccine is very, very high. That is the blood which was tested by the pharma guys in US, wherein they imposed adult vaccination, the flu vaccine. And they could see by imposing the booster. One thing is there, if the vaccine works, when you look at the classical definition of vaccine, once you have an antibody in your body after vaccination, it will continue to protect, it will continue to provide immunity. And they did experimentation with one shot of flu vaccine and they found that it is failed. They converted that into a sustainable opportunity. wherein every few months you need to have another booster dose. And with that, they could increase the business potential from $1 trillion to $4 trillion by 2019. So they tested the development. $4 trillion is much higher than the GDP of many countries. And they felt that if we can do it without any scientific evidence that it can protect you from flu, we can keep on launching another variant of a flu and we'll say that you need to keep on taking it. And we replicate the same storyline across the globe, right? And that is what has happened. Now, today, if you look at many people who pushed when the skin related allergy medicine as a part of this clinical trial, now they are saying that we need to have a law to make sure that people will get vaccinated every few months, right? And who are these people? Who are the one of the largest investors in the likes of Serum Institute or the Pfizer or AstraZeneca, right? So there's nothing about science. One dose did not work, two dose did not work, three dose data I have shared with you. The data which emerged from UK, wherein 75% people who died, the senior citizens, they are the three dose vaccinated people. Now they are focusing on how to make mandatory that two doses not fully vaccinated will change the status from fully vaccinated to unvaccinated or partially vaccinated, and create a law that it will be imposed on people on every 6 months. Otherwise, you will not be allowed if you have not taken another one. So that is where the things are moving, right? They know it did not work, but they're trying to convert the failure into sustainable opportunity. If you look at carefully, none of the pharma drugs for chronic illness can provide cure. If you have a diabetes, you need to start medicine, you need to take the medicine throughout your life. If a highest sugar level which is crossing 200, 300 level, then you need to take an insulin throughout your life. If you have issue with your heart, they will give you blood thinner, which you need to take it throughout your life. It's not like they do not know. It's not like they do not know how Ayurveda works or how the holistic healthcare works. But that doesn't create a sustainable income. That is where I started awareness campaign and some courses. Many of those courses are free on nature cure. That this is what Gandhiji wanted. Gandhiji wanted to make sure, because he was exposed to the pharma narrative. He was one of the first set of people in the country or in the globe who was super active against vaccination, because he had seen that the people who got vaccinated with the smallpox, they were getting smallpox again. And he said that there's no evidence that after taking multiple doses, you'll not get affected with the smallpox, right? And this is the evidence which is not today's evidence. The evidence was maybe around 100 years ago when Gandhiji himself was involved.
So you mean to say now the Atmanirbhar government, 80%, 20% majority representation government, and traditionally they say Indian government, Indian traditions they follow. And even after Narendra Modi ji became Prime Minister, they have celebrating International Yoga Day. And a holistic bill was passed without even having the majority in the Rajya Sabha. All of a sudden, what happened since May 2020? Why even Andhra Pradesh High Court did allow Anandaya's Ayurveda medicine to be distributed for prevention or cure? Because they have submitted every evidences. What does this Anandaya Ayurveda medicine contain? But why the same philosophy is not there with vaccines or remdesivir or other allopathic drugs? Why Supreme Court over a period of 2 years, they have allowed dose after dose, but they are not allowing, in spite of knowing what Ayurveda contains, what naturopathy contains. If government is not coming forward, they say it is a majority government taking care of the traditions of India, having passed holistic bill. If Union government under Prime Minister Modi ji is encouraging vaccines, and in spite of knowing the truth, what vaccines contain, and in spite of knowing the truth, what Ayurvedic medicines like Anandaya Ayurveda, naturopathy or other types of therapies contain, how do you look at this scenario? Courts not coming to the rescue, for 2 years still under trial. But vaccines, one after the another vaccine under emergency use authorization. And then the drugs under emergency use authorization. You said they have amended the clinical trial of medicines.
So In fact, Ministry of Ayush has done a remarkable job. At least they tried, and they provided protocol. Uh, they could not call it as a what you call cure because it was banned. Cure from Ayush was banned. And but they said that yes, there is a protocol based on Unani, there is a protocol based on Ayurveda, here is a yoga protocol, here is a Vedic protocol. They did whatever they can. They also wrote an email to all the state government with Ministry of Health, and that why didn't you use this as well? Right? There's efficacy of Kadha, there's efficacy of breathing techniques and all of that. So they tried. Uh, they also came out with a national clinical management protocol based on Ayurveda and yoga in October 2020. But did it go to public? Was there sufficient branding done? Very powerful technique was done by Ministry of Ayush in collaboration with Niti Aayog. And they launched with a 1.5 to 2 hours meeting and a very clear protocol which could have protected people. But unfortunately, the kind of branding which was happening for a pharma stuff during with the ringtone, none of those marketing strategy were given to Ministry of Ayush. In spite of hundreds of scientists who worked day and night to create a protocol based on yoga for different set of people, whether it is post-COVID, pre-COVID, home quarantine, severe issues, they defined it. They identified the different medicinal product which we can be done along with Ayurveda.
But why?
But at the
Now,
same
straight
time,
question to you. Straight question to you, Mr. Pritam. Why Indian government, in spite of stating that we are the protectors of Indian heritage and culture, why it did not encourage Ayurveda? Why the official government ringtones or everything was for vaccination? That emergency use authorization, I am challenging them. Why are you not telling what Covaxin contains? Is it not calf blood and Covishield, monkey chimpanzee cells, and all the other vaccines, fetal death cells from the fetus of kidney cells, and have many harmful substances like alumina and all. When you compare to Ayurvedic naturopathy and all other nice protocols and all, they are all there in evidence. And they were trying to make them to go through stringent procedures, including high courts and supreme courts. They are also responsible because under constitution they are supposed to come to the rescue of every citizen when the personal liberty, right to life and health is put to sword.
so that question I have also asked. Well, my question I go straight to Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, that why is that stepmotherly treatment has been given to Ayurveda, that too in the birthplace, that is India. Why is that the Tibetan medicine, which China is proud of, why the Dharmshala, the Tibetan settlement were threatened that if you offer this treatment to people in India, they'll shut down your center. So that's the question I have. I don't have answer. So I'm looking for that answer why it was done like this.
Yeah, that straight question should
Right,
go to
well-
Mr. Narendra Modi and Chief Justice of Supreme Court and Chief Justices of High Courts. When ICMR, DCGI,
I did write a few letters to Chief Justice of Supreme Court also, but I never got a response. But I wrote to them.
and Narendra Modi ji, how do you look? He is coming out and announcing vaccinations. See, on December 25th for children here, for children when already herd immunity has set in, antibodies are there in children. He's promoting vaccines for children and again booster doses. And even there is another this thing today when he was just going out, he's just his official Instagram website. He is promoting vaccines. How do you look at this scenario?
So listen, the people who had been the strong supporter of PM, one is Dr. Sanjay Rai. He is principal investigator of Covaxin, and he is raising concern. So there's a high possibility that he has access to real data of Covaxin, and he said that I have been a fan of PM Modi. I support his decision-making capabilities, but what decision has been taken by PM to impose vaccine on children in spite of the top committee of the country sharing their view against that? Why is that? He's super active, right? He's not worried about his job or future or anything. And he is a scientist at AIMS, one of the most premium organizers in the country. And if he's coming forward on the ground, sharing that it is a higher risk, it will impact more not only the current generation and many more future generation as well. At least the PM should listen to him, right? There are many other people, Dr. Amitabh Chakravarti, I think he has come to your
Yeah,
session
Amitabh
also,
Banerjee, Dr.
right? There are
Kushwaha, with evidences they have pointed, Dr. Gautam Das. They
right?
have come out with evidences, sir,
So
with evidences. We have submitted them to the,
people
even
who disagree
mailed them.
that these people with integrity and honesty, they're questioning this, and why is that the decision taken by them is getting reversed? What is the basis of that? Right? The people who are the adult generation, maybe the impact will be there for this generation for them. But the children, if their DNA and RNA is impacted or affected, many more generation in future will get affected. So that is a question to be asked to PM. But I still am looking for an answer that he's the one who started super actively International Day of Yoga. Why he is not listening to people like Sri Sri Ravi Shankar or Baba Ramdev or Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who have been telling that we have support system to resolve any kind of viral issues, right? So that is the question. These are people who supported with large scale vote bank. Why is not he's done not listening to them?
Why there is no mention of health in any election also? Election scenario, they don't. And election, lakhs of people participate, no mask, no physical distance, nothing will happen. But all of a sudden, after elections, now also I'm even sensing, now because business houses, cinemas, they want to release their movies, they want to make money. And malls, they want to make some money. And see, this is the time they are trying to relax. And see how colleges and schools are promoting vaccines instead of imparting quality education. What is this nonsense going on? Don't you think they should all be held responsible?
See, another issue is 100 years of mental conditioning, right? So Indian system of medicine was destroyed by British Medical Association, which was renamed to Indian Medical Association, and they are well funded, right? You go to any institution which has anything to do with health or research, they are funded by them. So if we really want to work on it, we need to change the mindset. Maybe there's a possibility that PM truly believes them that vaccine is such a great innovation. Maybe he truly believes, but he's not understanding the impact on people is very, very high. Right? That is where I focus on nature cure. Gandhiji's mission was to take nature cure to every nook and corner of the country. And he believed that nature cure should be done in a way that poorest of the poor should be able to treat themselves. It is more of education. And I've sent that screenshot also.
Yes, I saw that.
Tried to get
Now
it.
both come from Gujarat.
And
No,
then,
no, both come from Gujarat. Now how is that Mr. Modi is so different to Mr. Gandhi?
So even that point of time, it was only one voice that was Mahatma Gandhi, right? When other people promoted vaccine, Jawaharlal Nehru promoted vaccine. He is the one who started the first oral polio vaccine factory in Kunnur. And before that, I did not find any kind of evidence of polio in the country. But how the polio has increased after 1960 is well known. Mr. Nehru also promoted what do you call poisonous agriculture by father of Dr. Swaminathan,
Yeah.
right, which is being reversed now. I don't know how much.
Swaminathan destroyed the Swaminathan destroyed agriculture and food and our immunity, which we are trying to regain now. Soumya Swaminathan in the form of WHO's chief scientist, she is destroying the whatever remaining health, which is wealth. And then how
So it was outside, now it is inside.
no, because see
So
we,
if
we,
you
we,
look
we,
at the
then,
composition of vaccine or composition of the chemical of insecticide, pesticide, or antibiotics, it's all same. All are toxins.
no, we are asking through this science, truth, and freedom because we have no enmity against anyone, but we are discussing science, truth. Don't you think we should know what this vaccine contains? इस टीका में क्या है और ये महामारी क्या है और हम क्यों लेना ये सब? Don't you think this should be the basic thing which every citizen should know?
Definitely. So the question what I am asking, it is as per the science, but there is nobody to answer. If you look at carefully, I'm only asking questions which came to my mind, right? But where is somebody to answer that? Nobody is there. When
Nope.
I ask question for authority, if they are on my WhatsApp, then I'll get blocked. If I ask in Facebook, I'll get blocked there. So that is what it is. People who are authority and they are supposed to respond, they are not answering. So that is also destruction of Indian science. The state of Indian science. Indian science has grown with the power of observation, power of scientific mind, power of questioning, power of sastartha. That was an important element of the country. But what happened today? If you have a different view, you are threatened, right? You are blocked. Your account is deleted, right? That is what has happened today.
That's what they're trying to do with
It's
the
all against-
DR TSPR channels, Dr. TSPR channels. Last 1 week, they are trying to corrupt every system, but we are not scared because we always pursued science, truth, and freedom. That's why we come out with evidences. That's why we have been demanding before we started requesting, then demanding. Now we are challenging. If you are wrong, prove us. Prove us wrong.
Yeah.
What is right? You come on, give us. We are ready to take that. What is there? Because we are here to discuss, debate, so that you decide. That is the democracy. We are doing that in spite of all the hardships, so many obstacles which you are trying to create. We are not bothered because we have no enmity against individual nor animosity against any party or organizations. Issue as per rule of law, constitution invoking evidential act. Now how do you look at the media? All one-liners in every media, whether it is print or electronic. This really, as a journalist, this baffles me.
So the day I say China Platinum right in February 2020, and when I wrote a mail to Soumya Swaminathan in May, that China has already flattened the curve. Why that we are not learning from China? The next day, I found a press release which has gone to every media channel in India that China numbers are again increasing in some other village in some other province, right? And I looked at whether somebody has really found evidence and reported it. So I found that it is a RSS feed. So media is also clever. They said that we have not validated whether it is authentic or not. We got a RSS feed and we have published as it is. So you understand, right? There's a centralized communication which is being done through the media channel, and media channel is supposed to publish that without even validating whether it is true or false. That is what has happened. So in our democracy, the important pillars of democratic India, you see what has happened to that. What happened to bureaucracy, right? They were imposed to do, even if they know that there's something wrong, but they were forced from top, right? You have to make sure that lockdown is implemented, masking is implemented, enforce vaccination, don't provide an option for informed consent, don't provide evidence of potential severe acute reaction on people, right? There's nothing. So all the democratic pillars are in trouble. And that can be protected only when majority of people can start questioning it. And to question, they need to be empowered. There's a need to reverse the mental conditioning of last 100 years. It's very difficult. I'm not sure whether we can do it in our generation, but yes, we should do that. We should focus more on training people on nature cure. Ayurveda, not the products. The product of Ayurveda, the thing what WHO is trying to do, again transforming Ayurveda into pharmaceuticals. When you do not even know that how the raw and fresh leaf works, right? Everything is becoming a product. So Ayurveda is not about the pharma. It's all about the dincharya, ritucharya, growing leaves and plant at home which you can use as and when it is needed, right? So that is more important than monetization of and creating commercialization of Ayurveda.
Wonderfully said. So now what would be your message? Now you have clearly proved that science has been killed. The death of science happened last 2 years. Now what should India do? Because a prime minister of a party which votes majority and Indian traditions, Indian culture, is not discussing or debating on the floor of parliament or any assembly for that matter. No one discussing such a big issue. They are just creating fear, panic. No assembly discusses, no parliament discusses. And see, even Rahul Gandhi is advising booster. All political parties, see Aam Aadmi Party Chief Minister Mr. Kejriwal, he attends rally with thousands of people in UP and Punjab elections, comes to Delhi, imposes curfew. What is this Natakbazi? And you see Maharashtra, the seat from where Serum Institute of India, how they are trying to threaten people. See, they should give this thing. How do you look at this scenario? What is...
The problem is the political funding. And I look at that also, that why is that not a single political party is opposing what is happening in the country. I looked at the data of a political funding and I found that Serum Institute of India is one of the largest political donor in the country. And that is the organization who pay to everybody. They give it to NCP also, they give it to Congress also, they give it to BJP also. They buy everybody. Right? When they buy everybody, then you need to the line. You need to follow the line. You cannot have a different perspective. So that is a ground reality. So I could see the data till few years ago, till the electoral trust were formulated. Until that point of time, I'm able to see that as per ATR records, which was created by the professors in IIM Bangalore, wherein they said that this kind of record has to be there so that we can look at if there's any conflict of interest. But once the electoral trust has been formulated, I'm not able to see that what is that Serum Institute of India has done. How much money they have paid to different organizations to impose what is happening in the country today. DCGI, their role is also doubtful because they are the people who have caught red-handed many times to promote a product without any scientific evidence or efficacy of those products. AstraZeneca or Pfizer, if you look at their track record, they have paid billions, not millions, billions of dollars as a penalty in various countries. They were caught by SEBI. AstraZeneca was caught by SEBI. AstraZeneca was caught by CPI. But how did they get red carpeted in India? Right? They are well known for fraudulent practice. They are well known for false claim. So we have, in a way, if you look at, we have given our fate to those corrupt people who are known to be corrupt. Billions of dollars in a penalty. The question is that India should have taken action, do a due diligence, look at their track record, and ban them in the country. But what happened is they got a red carpet entry in the country. So two things. One is that we need to awaken citizens. We need to focus on re-inculcating ancient Indian wisdom or holistic healthcare dimension of life. That is what I am up to. I let my corporate job go. I'm working on efficacy of nature cure for chronic illnesses, because those are the people who got severely impacted, whether it is EM radiation or related to COVID. Can we help those people? Can we help people who are to aging issues? How we can reverse diabetes? How we can reverse hypertension? So that is part of my fellowship research. Hopefully by mid-May, my paper would be ready. And there I'm defining a protocol again based on ancient wisdom, which is going to be around Dincharya and Ritucharya. There's nothing to sell. It is more of education, teaching, coaching, what Gandhiji wanted. So that is what I'm up to.
Wonderful. So this is for today. You become aware of your health. Right to life, right to health is your fundamental right. Why should you give away it to someone? Yes, you have every right to decide what is that good for you. We are providing you all the information with evidences, science, truth, and so that your freedom is not enslaved. हम जो हैं यहाँ पर एक समाचार दे रहे हैं आपको जो स्वच्छ तरीके से सच्चा भी है, सच भी है, और साथ में संविधान के तौर पर, आधार के तौर पर हम दे रहे, क्योंकि आप एक संविधान हैं और जीने का हक या चिकित्सा का हक आपको खुद को लेनी है. इस तरह आप जो भी हमको दे रहा है, क्योंकि हमारी सरकार जो हमारे लिए कहती है कोवैक्सीन में क्या गाय की बछड़े की खून है या नहीं, गांव रक्षक वाले क्या कर रहे हैं, और हमारे जो भावबंदी जो ये पार्टी हमारी कहती है वो लोग क्यों चुप है, चिंपांजी सेल्स है या नहीं कोविशील्ड में, जब कोवैक्सीन में गाय का रक्त, कोविशील्ड में चिंपांजी का, और दूसरे अन्य वैक्सीन में भी इसी तरह की जो चीज़ है ये टीकाओं में, वैक्सीन में, और जो हानिकार है हमारे को बहुत हानिकार है, तो ऐसे हम क्यों ले रहे हैं हम, और ये सरकार क्यों हमारे को मजबूर कर रही है लेने के लिए. कभी कुछ ने सोचा है आपने? क्यों आप पूछताछ नहीं कर रहे? जबरदस्ती मास्क पहनाते, जबरदस्ती टीका वैक्सीन लगाते, जबरदस्ती घर पे लगाते हैं, लॉकडाउन क्यों? जब आप पूछेंगे क्यों हमारी कोर्ट्स भी, उच्चतम न्यायालय भी 2 साल से ट्रायल में है, सिंगल डोज, फर्स्ट डोज, सेकंड डोज, और बच्चों को बूस्टर के लिए आया है, और फाइजर वहां पकड़ा गया। वहां कोर्ट ने मजबूर किया फाइजर डाटा को बाहर रखने के लिए। जब कोरोना का ऑफिशियल डेथ जो मानते ही नहीं साइंस के द्वारा 0.26% है, थोड़े जो केसेस बाहर आए फाइजर के साथ में 3% लोग मर गए वैक्सीन के बाद। ये हम आंकड़े पब्लिक डोमेन में ही है। और यहां पर कोवैक्सीन हो, कोविशील्ड, कहाँ है आंकड़े, कहाँ है आंकड़े? ये आपका जीवन और मरण का प्रश्न है।
और आंसर देना नहीं चाहते। प्रशांत भूषण ने क्वेश्चन रेज किया कि आंकड़े कहाँ हैं। उन्होंने कोशिश की है कि उनके जो पिटिशनर हैं उन पे पेनल्टी लगा के उनको चुप करा दिया जाए। सेम थिंग दैट
कैसे कर सकते हैं ये कोर्ट? ये आप संविधान के दौर पर चलाते हैं और हमारे पैसे से चलते हैं ये सब, क्योंकि मैं एक संविधान हूँ। या बोलिए सर।
जूही चावला ने जब क्वेश्चन पूछा रेडिएशन का कि कहीं पर कोई सेपरेट ट्रायल हुआ है, she was imposed 20 lakhs as a penalty by the court. And when Prashant Bhushan asking, they tried to play a same trick. कि जो petitioner
नहीं, फिर उसको वापस लिया ना, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने फिर वापस लिया, करेक्शन किया है। लेकिन जब वो डिसीजन दिया, क्यों दिया कोर्ट भी लोगों को बताना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप जो है yes, courts also have got their duty. When Judge Chawla was penalized, again they said they have corrected their order again. Why? What made you to issue that order? Now what made you to correct? Whether it is High Court or Supreme Court, you have to function under the basic structure of Constitution. And every citizen is a constitution by herself or himself. We have dedicated this Constitution to ourselves. Right from Prime Minister to Chief Minister, Cabinet Secretary to Chief Secretary, Supreme Court to High Court, they all should work under the ambit of basic structure of Constitution. क्यों आप समाचार नहीं देते? आप हमको डराते क्यों? मेरा पैसा आप 50,000 you are paying to unfortunate deaths in the name of COVID. Now we are challenging, where is the autopsy report, where is the postmortem report? और जब हॉस्पिटल गए उनके सिम्टम्स क्या थे, क्या ट्रीटमेंट दिया गया और क्यों दिया गया? WHO नो रेमडेसिविर हो या कॉकटेल जिस तरह चेंज करते गया, इसके जिम्मेदार WHO है या नहीं? केंद्र सरकार, राष्ट्र सरकार, इंक्लूडिंग ICMR, DCGI और हर कोई राजनीतिक दल जो प्रमोट कर रहा है, ये लोग जवाबदार है या नहीं? यही आज का बड़ा ये है। उच्चतम न्यायालय जिस तरह सुप्रीम कोर्ट वहाँ पर अमेरिका में पर्दाफाश कर दिया फाइजर का, आप क्यों चुपचाप है? 2 साल के बाद भी ट्रायल के ऊपर ट्रायल। और जब आयुर्वेदा हो, नेचुरोपैथी हो और दूसरा कोई चिकित्सा, हमारी भारत की चिकित्सा को आप पाबंदी क्यों लगा रहे हो? कोर्ट्स, ICMR, DCGI और केंद्र राष्ट्र सरकार क्यों पाबंदी लगा रहे हो आप? यहां पर हर कुछ जानना चाहते हैं आप, और आनंद आयुर्वेदिक मेडिसिन, नेचुरोपैथी सब कुछ बता दिया कोर्ट को। इसी तरह आप कोवैक्सीन हो, कोविशील्ड वैक्सीन और दूसरे वैक्सीन को क्यों पूछताछ नहीं कर रहे आप? सुप्रीम कोर्ट हो या हाई कोर्ट, ICMR या DCGI, केंद्र या राष्ट्र सरकार क्यों नहीं उनको क्वेश्चन आप क्यों नहीं कर रहे आप? इस वैक्सीन में क्या है और वो ट्रीटमेंट जो ड्रग्स दिए गए वो ड्रग ट्रायल है या नहीं? उसके बदौलत ही लोग मरे या नहीं? कितने लोग मर गए? आपने डरा के धमका के कितने लोग मर गए? ड्रग ट्रायल्स हुआ या नहीं? ब्लैक में रेमडेसिविर तमिलनाडु गवर्नमेंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहा था, क्या ये लोग जिम्मेदार है या नहीं? क्योंकि ये विज्ञान के खिलाफ हुआ या नहीं? इज दिस नॉट अगेंस्ट साइंस?
बिल्कुल। सो 2 क्वेश्चन आते हैं यहाँ पर। वन इज दैट राइट टू द चॉइस ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट, जो कि फंडामेंटल राइट है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के हिसाब से, व्हाई दैट वाज वायलेटेड, wherein people did not have a choice to go and opt for the treatment they want. दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जितने लोगों की डेथ हुई बिकॉज ऑफ फोर्स ट्रीटमेंट, कितने लोग असिम्प्टोमेटिक थे? राइट, उस समय तो किसी को भी अगर टेस्ट में पॉजिटिव पाया गया घर से उठाकर लेके जाते थे। राइट, फैमिली मेंबर्स को मिलना अलाउड नहीं था। राइट, क्या उनके साथ हो रहा है फैमिली मेंबर्स कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा था। कितने लोग असिम्प्टोमेटिक थे जिनकी डेथ हुई? कितने लोगों को वेंटिलेटर पर डाला गया जो असिम्प्टोमेटिक थे? कितने लोगों को रेमडेसिविर दिया गया जो कि असिम्प्टोमेटिक थे, वो आंकड़ा कहाँ है? वो आंकड़े की कोशिश की जा रही है निकालने की, because that is very important data. People should know what happened to those people, unfortunate people who were victim of experimentation by WHO, not only in India, across the globe. Primarily the asymptomatic people. Symptomatic, there could be question, but the asymptomatic were picked up from home, they did not come back. What happened to them?
It's a big question. What happened to those asymptomatic patients, unfortunate citizens, नागरिक जो कोई रोग लक्षण ही नहीं था, उनको उठा के हॉस्पिटल लेके गए और रेमडेसिविर हो या इस तरह के WHO के साजिश के तौर पर केंद्र राष्ट्र सरकार DCJ ICMR ने उनके ऊपर ये प्रयोग किया है या नहीं, ये आंकड़े कहाँ हैं? दुनिया में ऐसी हुआ है. हम ये नहीं चाहते कि खाली भारत, दुनिया पूरा. वी आर नॉट लिमिटिंग टू इंडिया, द वर्ल्ड ओवर इट हैज़ हैपेंड. दैट इज वाई वी आर सेइंग द डेथ ऑफ साइंस. नाउ हु इज गोइंग टू बी हेल्ड रेस्पॉन्सिबल? Should there be any trial or not? Why people lost their lives? And what is corona? Come on, prove it. Did you isolate the virus? How genuine RT-PCR test is? How good remdesivir cocktail other medicines were which you have provided? How good the masking ventilator was? Where are the scientific data? Where is the scientific data? How could you change the definition of vaccine from being prevention to stating that there will not be hospitalized, intensity of the disease is reduced? Is it not the drug? How can you impose a drug without any proper trial and without any informed consent? मैं एक नागरिक हूं, मेरे को जानकारी चाहिए. बिना मेरी जानकारी और डराते हुए आपने हमारे घर पे लॉकडाउन के बदौलत रोजगारी खत्म कर दी. ये डर से लोग मर गए और बच्चों की परवरिश या उनकी पढ़ाई खत्म हो गई. माँ बेटियां डर से बैठे हुए हैं. People lost their jobs. Children lost their education. Because you created fear and panic, people lost their lives in the name of drug trials and the vaccines, which still today are under emergency use authorization with no liability and compensation. Prove it. We are ready to accept. We are inviting everyone to question us. If we are wrong, kindly correct. Is there any calf blood in the Covaxin or not? Chimpanzee cells in Covishield or not? Likewise, more harmful substances in the vaccines or not? When Ayurveda, naturopathy medicines, when they are very clear, every ingredient court has tested, government has tested. Why are you not allowing Ayurveda and naturopathy? Then why are you allowing Covishield and Covaxin, remdesivir and all, without informing us what these medicines contain or what these vaccines contain? When you are having a different rule for our own Indian traditional medicine, Ayurveda and naturopathy. Where is the science? We could have become world leader, and even today we will become a world leader. Let us pursue our own system of medicine, our traditional medicine, which will come to the rescue of the world if there is anything called COVID or corona, if it exists. Even for other disorders, our own better system, Indian traditional lifestyle, our own traditional medicine. Why our own government, which says it is a traditional government representing majority, why is it trying to impose that remdesivir, that cocktail medicine, that Covishield, that Covaxin? Why not Ayurveda and naturopathy? Where is the science? And why WHO, World Health Organization, is trying to dictate terms to us? This is what we say, the death of science. So it becomes duty of every citizen under Article 51A, 15 responsibilities for you. Your life, your health, your family in your hands. Who the hell they are? They work in democracy. We are represented by political parties through representatives for Lok Sabha and Assembly, Vidhan Sabha. We pay taxes to run these governments, but how? In a transparent and accountable way, by giving us all the information so that we are a constitutional authority. We will decide. We want you to decide. Let everyone decide. Every citizen, whether it is in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, India, or world over, you decide. For you to decide, you need a correct information which is as per rule of law, Constitution, invoking Evidential Act. This is what Dr. TSPR channels through wonderful guests like Pritam ji, all those wonderful guests we have been doing for the last 2 years, we will continue to do because we have no enmity against individual nor animosity against any party or organizations. Issue as per rule of law, Constitution, invoking Evidential Act in larger पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट, प्रजाहित में हम शो आफ्टर शो करते रहेंगे. आप कुछ भी करिए, यू हैक व्हाट एवर यू वांट, वी विल कंटिन्यू टू गिव गुड इंफॉर्मेशन, प्रॉपर इंफॉर्मेशन, करेक्ट इंफॉर्मेशन to all the citizens in larger public interest. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you very much. Good night. Shubhratri. Dhanyavad.
For all the Indians, we say Sukha Nidra Shubharatri. It will happen only when you become decisive, when you get correct information so that you will decide. Only then it will become Sukha Nidra Shubharatri. The same thing for the world over. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And if you want to stay in good health, because health is wealth, correct information you should have. Don't fall a prey for false or misinformation. Your life, your health in your hands. Thank you, sir. Good night.